Hello, welcome to my mid-year goals check-in and just mid-year reading check-in, how I'm doing, how my goals went. I do my reading goals in mid-year 6-month stints because I find that if I try to do like a full year of reading goals, my time blindness cannot handle that. I need like more consistent check-ins with it and more consistent deadlines and just end of the year because otherwise I'll put everything off. So every 6 months helps me a lot. So my goals related to like which specific books I'm going to read or which series I'm going to pick up or whatever, that is what we're talking about today. Although I will go over just like a few reading stats first just to see like how I am overall for this year. My overall reading goal is always 52 books a year. I up that usually in like the fall when I kind of see how things are going. I don't know if I'm going to up it this year. I mean, I'm on track to beat that, but we'll see if I can like up it to like 70 or something, which tends to be my like most used reading goal by the end of the years over the past handful of years. But I've read 38 books so far this year. The star ratings of these feel a little like, I don't know, but the rest of the year could really pick up for me. Majority of those were 3 stars, so 16 of those were 3 stars, 13 were 4 stars, and 4 of them were 5 stars. And I feel like last year I had more 4 and 5 stars, so we'll see. That's why I do this. We're refocusing the goals and being like, what's going on? What's potentially going wrong? What are we going to do? 50% of the books that I've read have been physical books, 28 audio, and 18 ebook. So again, like, is there something to that? 42% of the books I've read have been from Libby. So with my like 0 by 24 TBR goals, which I will get to in a second, I'm not really reading enough from what was on my physical TBR at the end of 2022. If you have any like questions about that, my 0 by 24 TBR challenge, I will leave that linked video on the screen. But since I've been reading a lot from Libby, I'm reading a lot that's not on my shelf for reasons. I don't even really know why. Like, I guess audiobooks and stuff a lot. Like, I've been reading a lot of audiobooks. So I think that's going to swing the other direction because I'm kind of running low on the list of things available from Libby right now, and swinging back to the books on my shelf. Also, there's been a number of books that are on my shelf that I could listen to on audio, but I don't like the audiobook narration. So that is sort of what's messing with that, finishing the books on my TBR. But let's talk about that quickly. I started the year with 55 books in my physical TBR, and I've DNF'd 2 of those. I've read 11 of them. So 13 of those have gotten off my TBR. 13 for halfway through the year is not enough, in my opinion. So there's 42 books left, but technically not even 42 because that does require some rereads for series. Like, I want to read some of the books that I've already read that are not on the TBR shelf for those series to continue those series. So if we factor in those, that ends up being 48 books, which is just, that's not going to happen as far as getting all those like, I would only have to read books for my physical TBR from last year. It's not going to happen. So for this goal, I'm going to take the books on my TBR that need rereads off. So those books that are reread books and the books that need to reread off the physical TBR sort of goal. I might still get to them, but like, I'm sort of taking that off the list so I can just make more traction with some of these other books. So with that, there's 37 books left on my physical TBR from, again, end of 2022. So I would need to read about 6 books a month just for my physical TBR. I've been averaging about 7 or 6 read a month. So we'll see, but I tend to get really reinvigorated around goal setting and things. So I'm thinking that I might make some serious traction on this now that I'm like reminding myself that this is a thing that I'm trying to do. The year's just gone by really fast. It's been crazy. But to sandwich this between some good things, I've DNF'd 5 books total, which I think is good for me because sometimes like I just resist DNFing. So I've been really good about like if I'm not enjoying something, just DNFing it. And I've finished up 4 series so far, which is wonderful. So that's mostly what I'm going to talk about here because those were some of my goals for the first half of the year, was to wrap up some ongoing series that I had where I had those books on my shelf. So first goal was to finish the Scholomance series, which I did do. So that was to read The Last Graduate and The Golden Enclaves, which I just read this month. So I finished up this series. I then wanted to finish the Bone Criers series or Bone Criers Moon series. I don't know, but I had to reread the Bone Criers Moon because I'd totally forgotten most of what happened at it. And then I read Bone Crier's Dawn, and I liked both of these. This wasn't as strong of a conclusion as I was hoping, but I really enjoyed my reread of the first book, and I liked a lot of things about the second book. It just was, like, not exactly perfect for me, but still a solid series if you want something with, like, witchiness and, like, just a lot of, like, I don't know, goddesses and underworld stuff and ferrying the dead, like, all the things that I tend to really like, owls, bone magic, whatever. I end up liking these, and just glad that I did wrap up this series. Then I wanted to finish up the Foundry Size series with Locklands by Robert Jackson Bennett. I loved this book, one of my first 5-star reads. I think my first 5-star read of the year. So finish this up. Then I wanted to quickly continue with the Burning Kingdom series by Tasha Suri because I read the first book, The Jasmine Throne, at the end of last year. So I did continue with the Oleander Sword earlier this year. And finally, I wanted to finish up the Last Hour series by Cassandra Clare since that final book came out. So I did read Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. This was entirely too long, but I did finish it. So I achieved all of my series-related goals for the beginning of the year. We're going to continue that on for the second half of the year. So the second half of the year is a lot of like catching up on ongoing series, or like there are some finished series, but I only own like the second book in the series, so I'm not saying I need to finish it by the end of the year because that would be adding to my TBR, but I'm trying to at least get the books read on my physical TBR, right? As we're noticing, this is a theme. So first is catching up on the Wayward Children series by Shauna McGuire with Where the Drowned Girls Go and Lost in the Moment and Found. These two I have on my shelf. I don't think another one has come out, but now that I'm talking about this, I'm like not actually sure. No, I don't think so. But I feel like they do come out in January, so I might have missed it. But I think it's just these two that I have to catch up on. No, yes, that is true. That is true. These are short little novellas. I love them. I'll be able to catch up on these. Speaking of short things, I also want to catch up on the Monstrous graphic novel series. This might wait until October because spooky season. These aren't necessarily completely, they're horror, they're fantasy horror books. But this is a graphic novel series that is very spooky. And I need to read volumes 6, 7, and I think 8 is out now as well. So I'm hoping to just completely catch up with this series by the end of the year. Then a few continuations. Like I said, I want to continue with the First Sister series by Lyndon A. Lewis with The Second Rebel. This is a very fun sort of Handmaid's Tale sci-fi mix with some other elements that I really liked. I read the first book last year for book club around this time, like in the summer last year. I've forgotten a little bit of it, so I'll need to read a recap, but otherwise I want to continue with this while it's still fresh-ish in my mind, and this second book is like way longer than the first one, so I'm excited. Some more sci-fi. I want to continue with the Valerie Valdez Chilling Effect series, I think is just the name of the series. The second book is Prime Deceptions. This is that series I started last year that I couldn't read back to back because it's a little bit too overwhelming, but it's basically Mass Effect if Shepard was less competent, and like so much happens, and it's just fun. It's fun sci-fi romp stuff, and I love it. There's also Psychic Cats. These covers are great. And finally, something I want to start is the Live Ship Traders by Robin Hobb. This is a series that I've wanted to start forever, and of my like series I want to start in 2023 list, like this is the top of the list. I need to. I've owned it. I started the Robin Hobb series, like the Farseer trilogy, to get to these. Like, I need to do it. They're just very large. All 3 are still considered on my list of things I want to read before the end of the year that were on my physical TBR. I don't know if that's a little bit too ambitious, but I'm hoping to possibly even read this like in July, maybe August. But anyway, maybe I'll read at least 2 of them before the end of the year. But this needs to happen, and I know it's going to be good. That's the thing. I know it's going to be good, and so I always want to give it like its best chance. But sometimes I'm really overwhelmed. Like when I read those giant books, I'm looking at The Last Hours. I can't just jump into this after, but like it's gonna be good, you know? I can't wait. But yeah, those are my goals for the second half of the year reading wise. So comment down below, let me know if you have any specific reading goals like this. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.